Welcome to the Video Insiders Podcast. This is Carlos Pacheco.
And I'm Tom Martin.
And we are this week welcoming our second guest on the show. This time the tables are turned towards Tom, who had the chance to sit down with none other than Josh Zimmerman. Josh is a creator coach. He works with YouTube personalities, growing their brands, their IPs, their followings. He does a lot of the stuff that me and even Tom sort of like do in a way, but we do it more for libraries and content owners. Tom, how was that interview?
Josh is somebody who, if you've been in the industry long enough, you've definitely spoken to Josh at some point, whether that was from his YouTube Nation days or his days working with management and talent. He's really smart. He knows everything about the industry. He knows all of the latest news. He knows everyone in the industry. So a really real expert and wealth of knowledge. He's definitely somebody, again, I'd say like me and you, Carlos, who have bridged the gap between someone who's worked on kind of the creator side and working with creators, producing content with creators, but also has represented the kind of corporate side of YouTube. So again, a well-rounded, knowledgeable person and really, really fascinating insights on his latest venture, which is trying to stop the growing problem of creator burnout.
That's awesome. That's a great mission to be on because it's really easy for creators to jump into this world and feel the need to constantly create or run that hamster wheel that is YouTube.
Yeah, as we've mentioned on another podcast, I did it for 1 month where I uploaded daily, and it was a full-time job, and I was making like really basic 2-3 minute videos, just pieces to camera. So I'm not sure how people are living their entire lives documenting and editing on a daily basis. So let's cut to Josh and see what he has to say on the subject, and then we'll be back on the other side of the conversation to add in some extra points.
All right.
Okay, but before we jump into today's interview with our special guest, Josh Zimmerman, we need to say a special thank you to our amazing sponsor, TubeBuddy. For those of you that don't know TubeBuddy yet, it is the ultimate channel management tool that will help you run your YouTube channel or channels smarter and faster. It's going to save you loads of time, loads of resource. So it's something you literally cannot afford to go without. And even better is that you can get it with a unique and exclusive Video Insiders discount by visiting www.videoinsiders.fm/TubeBuddy.
Thank you, TubeBuddy.
Now let's jump into the interview. So excited to be doing my first interview for the Video Insiders podcast. And I almost feel like saying this person needs no introduction, because when I think of the YouTube industry, there's probably not many more people that spring to mind quicker than you, Josh Zimmerman. We go way, way back. It seems like, without doubt, you are the most connected person in our YouTube sphere, and definitely the most connected person who's probably never appeared on the YouTube screen. Can I ask that question to start off, Josh? Have you actually ever appeared in a YouTube video on purpose?
Well, Tom, thank you so much for having me on. And we've known each other since 2014 and back in the YouTube Nation days. Have I ever appeared on screen? I'm sure I have in the background of some videos at YouTube Nation, and maybe some on with my creator, but some creators, but not that I'm aware of. No.
Well, where else can we start but the institution that was YouTube Nation? This was a great, I wouldn't even call it an experiment. It was a fully fledged movement. It was a fully fledged production. It was a fully fledged channel, very successful in its day. For those people that are not dinosaurs, veterans of the platform, can you give us a quick background into YouTube Nation, and then we can kind of give away the secrets of how we first come to meet?
Sure. So, the whole idea behind YouTube Nation was really, Jeffrey Katzenberg who was, head of DreamWorks Animation. And his whole idea back in 2014 and 2013 was, that there's so much content on YouTube. And the stuff that gets surfaced is really, only stuff that goes viral or you see on your Facebook page. Or what Jeffrey realized was that there was so much more content out there that was, hiding below the static, that didn't have those numbers. And what he really wanted to do was create a show, a daily show, where we were able to look for great content. Didn't matter about the subscriber numbers or the views, but if it was good content, we wanted to take that huge YouTube spotlight and shine it on these creators who we thought deserved it. So the team was around 40 people. We had 5 people searching YouTube 10 hours a day. This was a joint venture between Jeffrey Katzenberg, DreamWorks Animation, and YouTube. My job, I got brought in under my supervisor and good friend Brian Potter, who does rights and clearances, was to reach out to all of these amazing creators to have them on our show every day. I had no idea about YouTube. I came from TV. So I was emailing massive creators back in 2014, and I had no idea who they were. So it was a quick wake-up call to it. And from there, I just fell in love with YouTube and how accessible it was to everybody, and the mission statement behind YouTube Nation, which was celebrating the human spirit and giving creators a platform on YouTube, but then elevating them as more, because we were cemented on the spotlight page of saying, there's great stuff out there, and you just have to look for it, and we're going to make your job a little bit easier, and we're going to help you. Help the public be able to see all this great stuff.
Yeah, and this is how we first ever came into contact during my time for the BBC. Did you say it was back in 2014?
2014.
I would have guessed 2013, but my memory's going. So, I remember receiving emails from Josh asking for permission to use excerpts from some of our videos, I think mostly coming from our natural history and science channels. And we were always so excited and so honored to be featured on YouTube Nation. It's something that we would share to other stakeholders in the business, and it was a real badge of honor to be featured on YouTube Nation. And it was a great production as well. So massive apologies. I don't remember the name of the presenter. Who was the guy?
Jacob Soboroff. And Jacob's now on MSNBC. I believe he just won the Walter Cronkite Award. I have to go and check exactly what award he won, but a lot of people said Jacob and I looked like each other. Jacob was phenomenal. We had guests in there, guest hosts. It really was. We worked with people like you, the BBC, all the way down to people with 2 subscribers or 1 subscriber that just had great content. I was one small piece of the cog. There was people who did so much more than me. And really were talented at finding and scouring YouTube for great content, which was led by Ernest Petty, who is still a great friend to this day.
So the channel and the initiative did come to an end after, what was it, 2 years, a year?
Just a year.
Yeah. Over 1 million subscribers, was it?
Yeah. I think we were the fastest channel ever to 1 million. Don't quote me on it, even though this is on a podcast. I think it was 3 or 4 months before we hit 1 million subscribers, from 0 to 1 million.
So by many standards, a success. It was well loved. It was well watched. Was it just a case of it was an expensive production? It was just not monetarily worth it to keep the lights on. Is that what you were told? Or are you allowed to go into that?
All of that's above my pay grade. I wasn't really told much, but it was devastating. That is probably by far my favorite job that I've ever had.
I think it's a shame. I think that it did a really great job, and I think there's still a kind of gap for that kind of show. And we have lots of similar shows on TV here in the UK. None of them are daily by any stretch of the imagination, but to me, it seems like a really easy win because people were giving you permission to use their clips free of charge. Well, for at least we were. I assume most people were. And I think that's such an easy show to sell a sponsorship to.
Yep.
You know, YouTube Nation brought to you by Coffee Mate or Canon or whoever it may be.
Yeah, there was a partnership with Verizon for a while, just for a segment. I believe it was for my first upload. I believe that's what it was. But, the channel's still around, and the videos are still up. And it's funny when I talk to creators who are on there, they're saying they're still getting traffic pushed to them from that channel. Which is crazy.
Yeah. So you went on a bit of a journey into the corporate world. We won't dwell too much on some of the ins and outs, but ultimately what ended up happening is that you landed back in the world of creators and talent and working with talent. So can you tell us how that came to be and how that manifested itself?
Yeah. Well, I'd had a lot of these great friendships with these creators from YouTube Nation that we had featured, and I hit it off with a lot of them. And there's a guy that you might know, Tom, named Chris Sharp. And Chris had interviewed me, I think it was 2016, about being a manager. At that point, I had 2 creators that I was managing, 2 or 3. We had this podcast, and they recorded me about being a manager and me talking about all the things that I suggested, including safety and what to do and what not to do and where to shoot, a whole range of different topics. And that podcast ended up dropping the weekend of VidCon. When that happened, it sort of caught on fire. Creators started coming up to me asking if I would manage them. And I said, no, I'm not. I'd rather be your friend. But the creators kept coming up to me and saying, Josh, what do you think about this? Will you and I just kept saying no. And finally, after like the 6th or 7th time in one day, it hit of like, oh, maybe I should be doing this, full time, because creators are coming up to me and asking me. And so that's when I started Jay-Z Management. And quickly within 3 months, amassed a, talent roster of 10 plus people, was off to the races.
What did that kind of work look like? So were you, doing admin for these creators? Were you setting them up with collaborations, with sponsorships, paid placement, brand deals, off YouTube work, TV works? What was the kind of range of activities that you were working on behalf of the creators?
Well, one of the things is I threw myself into the deep end because I didn't come from an MCN, and I didn't have the backing or the knowledge of working with agencies or AORs or brands. And so I threw myself in and was like, oh, wow, I need to figure this out, and realized how much work it was to not only, keep up with creators day to day, but also, where is that line of what do you do as a manager, and defining what a manager is and what an agent is. And if you need a business manager or there's so many different things that a creator leans on you for. Where I ended up was being very high touch with the talent that I worked with, in the sense of, I had access to all of their channels. I was monitoring everything, making sure everything was okay, talking to them daily and reaching out to brands and agencies, which is so hard because it's so hard to even get your foot into that world. So I owe a lot of that to other managers out there who, did intros to the agencies and brands and vouched for me. And so that was one of the things that was really nice, is that the mentality of managers, or the ones that I've surrounded myself with, is that, we support each other, because in that way, all boats rise. So I started to do brand deals and negotiate. And when it came to negotiation, passing that off to our lawyer, but really started to have a sense of becoming a creator's, right hand, not a glorified assistant, but somebody who really knew the creator and knew what they needed, and that the creator felt like they could trust and come to me when they needed something. So it really was their life, managing their life. And it was hard to say no a lot of the times, because they're your talent, but you spend so much time with them, you become friends.
So to me, it sounds almost like, and I don't mean this in a condescending or patronizing way. It's probably just that I can't think of a better word for it. But did it almost seem that you were like the den mother to the creators, kind of making sure they got off to school on time and making sure they did their homework and, making sure they were clean behind the ears? It seems like you were almost, running their life as much as you were running their business.
Yeah, but I was really lucky because the creators that I worked with really had a sense of themselves and really knew what I would do and what I wouldn't. So we really played well off each other in that sense. Yes, I'm hyper protective of the creators. But one of the things that I would say to creators that I worked with or that wanted to work with me is that, I'm not going to call you and wake you up to go to casting or to make sure you did this. You're a grown up and act like one. And if you're not going to, I'm not interested in working with you. So I had a pretty harsh line that I let people know that if you were going to work with me, that's great, but this is what I expect from you. But I also, Tom, I was so clear with every creator that they are the boss, right? They are paying me. My job is to go out there and work with agents to bring in as much money as possible and expand the revenue streams and really explain to them that, a manager's job is to advise and consult and really have that 30,000 foot view of and pulling all the strings, making sure that the lawyers are getting everything in on time, making sure the agreement is correct, making sure that the creator is, hitting all the talking points. So there's a lot of minutia, but also being able to look at that 30,000 foot level and move the business forward. And there's no one better than Courtney Carter as a manager, who is an agent, but now a manager that does it. And I learned so much from her.
And can you just clarify that difference for some of the audience that may not be so aware of what is the exact difference between an agent and a manager?
It's a good question. And the best thing that I would say is, because I always want to make sure that if I say something, I have it 100% correct, is I would say there are some great YouTube videos on it. But one of the things in, the state of California is that managers are not allowed to procure employment, which means get them a job. And it's a little murky, but, that's why you have an agent who is allowed to, so you work hand in hand with the agent. The manager is really the driving force to be that right hand to the creator. So if anyone is confused about what a manager and a agent and a business manager or a PR firm does, I would say go right to YouTube, go right to Google, and be knowledgeable about it, because I could talk about this for, 2 hours, but I think that there's a lot of people out there and there's a lot of great information to really make sure that everybody understands, and especially for the creator, what the role of each person on their team is. And it varies from creator to creator and manager to manager.
I think that's a really good point on which to move to your latest role, shall we say, within the ecosystem of creators and the lives of creators, because I'm not sure if you're still doing some of that management work, but you've certainly made a distinct move to becoming more of a coach to creators rather than a manager. So what I'd really love for you to do, Josh, is to give us an idea of, again, what does that manifest itself as? But more importantly, how did you get to the point where you became a creator coach? And what is the problem that you saw over and over again that you just knew had to be solved? And how is it that you personally are solving that problem?
Yeah, well, the big thing is burnout, right? That's the hot word. But around a year and a half ago, I wrote an article on LinkedIn called The Creator Burnout, and wrote to fellow managers and people in the industry about what to do about this, because it's become an epidemic. And the thing is, that was before all these major articles were written. But the reason why it happened is I had creators coming to me who were either I was managing them or not, just seeking advice. I'm like, I'm so tired. I have no more energy. I have no more creativity. But if I stop, my channel, the algorithm's going to kill me. I'm going to lose everything. And what do I do? And I just saw this, it just kept coming up again and again and again. And I decided that after writing that article and the feedback that I got from, other managers and agents and especially creators, and I looked and I realized nobody was focusing on burnout. We're all talking about it, but nobody's doing anything about it or addressing that issue. And I said, in our community, in our space, and I said, well, then I'm going to. And so that's where I came up with the name Creator Coach. So I've really pivoted. I have a few creators that I manage, but I'm not taking any creators on, and fully focused on Creator Coach, focusing on really burnout, but also alleviating all this pressure and pain and anxiety. And listen, creators operate in a vacuum, right? And it is hard to break that vacuum because there's only so many people you can trust as a creator, because you may become really famous and then there's money involved and then everyone wants your attention. And there's all of these different things that come up that who are you supposed to talk to about this? Well, you can talk to your other friends that are creators, but they're in the same place. One of the biggest things that we start to see especially with burnout, is that stress happens. Every creator will tell you that they're stressed. But what is scientifically proven is when you're stressed, your brain signals and releases cortisol. And what does that do? That kills creativity. So you have somebody who is stressed, and you don't have to be a creator to have this or to be burnt out. But if you are constantly going, and if you think of a creator as on a treadmill, right? And that treadmill is going and going and they can't get off, whether that treadmill is the algorithm or YouTube or uploading videos, but it is a grind. You don't stop as a creator. Well, you're eventually going to get really tired, but you have to keep going.
Sorry, Josh, I have to butt in here because I need to get your opinion on quite an infamous video that was released maybe early this year, probably I'd say 2 or 3 months ago. And it was from the YouTube Creators Insider channel. The channel I'm talking about, where they make all of their kind of announcements. And it was talking about burnout, and it was saying, take a break. If you get tired, take a break, which is obvious, makes sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense, not to a creator.
Yeah, and this is what I wanted to press with you, is that there were a lot of large creators that came out on Twitter, social media, in the comments of that video saying, it's all very well you telling us to take a break, and also you say that if you take a break, it won't affect the performance of my channel. But everyone that works in the industry, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, knows absolutely full well that if you take a break really any longer than 2 weeks, there's going to be an effect on your viewership. What's your opinion on that, Josh?
Well, yes. I mean, we know that, YouTube and I'm using air quotes right now, the algorithm, because, everyone blames the algorithm. I'm like, you're blaming zeros and ones, people. It is a algorithm. It doesn't have feelings. Its job is to serve the viewers content that is going to entertain them the most. So when you start to drop off, and you're not uploading with all of these different factors, are your videos going to be served as much? No. And are you going to see a drop off? Probably, but that's okay. As long as you tell your audience what's going on. And as long as you say, hey, I'm going to take a break, or, if you strategize with someone like yourself, Tom, or different people in the industry about making content, or, having a library that you can go on a month or 2 long vacation and break and have content that goes up every week. There are ways around it. But if you don't take a break, you're going to burn out and you will go into a death spiral. and flatline. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So what is it then that you as a creator coach can bring to a creator, and how do you work with creators to prevent this, apart from just saying you need 2 weeks off? How else are you getting involved in their creative side and their business side to coach them? How does that relationship work as a coach and creator?
Sure. So listen, the first thing as a coach, and the most important thing, is that there's a huge distinction between coach, consultant, and therapist. Okay? And as a coach, we look forward. We don't look into the past. And there is some looking into the past of like what went on, etc. But my job is to be somebody that a creator can come to and know that. And I say, I don't care how many subscribers, how many views, how much money you make. I see you as a person, and that's it. You're a creative person. Great. I really don't care how many people subscribe to you, which I think is important, because not many creators hear that. Number two, I say, I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And then number three, which is the most important, you, the creator, are in charge. How many different times has a creator heard, you are in charge? 100%. You drive the conversation. What do you want to work on? And so what we do is, in each session, the creator really talks about what's going on and what's stressing them out. There's a form that they fill out before each call of what they want to focus on. And, it is really something that is called coactive coaching, which the way to explain it is that I am there as somebody to ask really powerful questions and to help you get from point A to point B. And that point A and point B are your point A's and point B's. And they can change from week to week and session to session. But the goal for me, is to be in the corner of a creator, knowing that I'm not in it for anything except for their health and wellness, and for them to feel rejuvenated and that they are making progress on the things that they want. And I have no other motive other than to help them.
So what I'm really interested in, really even just out of a bit of curiosity, as someone who's done a tiny bit of coaching training, is that a lot of, at least what I was taught, is a lot of coaching is reflecting back what the creator is saying and getting them to kind of be more self-reflective and look back at their own problems, and in a more objective way. How much would you say is your current coaching setup that kind of reflective work compared to advice? Are you giving advice, or are you helping people to come to their own conclusions? I'm really interested in that balance.
So it's around an 80-20 split. 80% is the creator, 20% is me. When I work with creators, like I said, they're in charge. So if they ask my opinion, I'll tell them. This is more of an executive coaching kind of style. And so I match the creator where they want to be. If they're like, no, I want you to tell me what to do, I will tell them that. It's in the course of what they're trying to achieve. And the biggest part of that is self-empowerment. Creator coaching is a vehicle for helping creators achieve a higher level of well-being and performance, both in life and creating content. Again, like I said, the most important aspect of my work is that the creators are in charge. They set the agenda. The work that I do with them becomes a thought-provoking creative process that inspires and supports the creator to maximize their talent and potential. If a creator wants my opinion, like I said, I'll tell them, but I will also push them to look inside themselves. And really, what happens is the vacuum breaks and fresh air comes in, because they're actually getting to talk to somebody that is giving them a fresh perspective. So that's my 20%, but also somebody that understands the industry and has been in the entertainment industry, has been a manager, and has been on both sides, and has and also that I have friends that are creators. So I see all sides of it holistically. And listen, the big thing is people do not change. And this is not just creators, but people do not change by themselves. Change happens from the inside out. It also happens from the outside in, as we encourage to being in conversation. One of the things that helps change, right, and opens the conversation with these creators is helping them know that that they need to be out in different, be included in different kinds of environments and systems and communities and organizations and networks and relationships and processes and practices and structures, and that there are resources out there. So as a coach, my job is to really say, hey, the world is your oyster. And also, by the way, you're already a successful entrepreneur. Look what you've built. It's so easy to get stuck in the YouTube vacuum, right? And just continue to put out content.
And so your Creator Coach business, that's at creatorcoach.com. Is that right?
It is. The website's still under construction, but you can shoot me an email, josh@creatorcoach.com.
So it's still quite a fledgling business, shall we say, or at least in its infancy. What kind of results are you seeing? Or more importantly, what kind of results are your creators seeing in the time that you've spent with them?
Yeah, I've been so shocked at the results that even through one or two sessions with the clients that I have, which are, a lot of them come to me with burnout, and immediately afterwards, and depending on what they need, there's a spark in their eye. Creativity is flooding back. They are excited again. Sometimes they're sad, but they're actually feeling emotions, and they have a direction. And so you start to see this entire shift into who this person is and who they want to be. And maybe that person behind the screen, but also what they want their content to be. And just by talking to someone, just in that 45 minutes, and really just listening to them, and not just hearing them, but literally, because we all do this, if we're talking to one another and I say something interesting, you're in your head, Tom, going, oh, me too, or I want to ask this. That's like a level 1 listening. I'm at like a level 2 or 3 listening, which is there is nothing else around me, and I am completely focused and dedicated to hearing and listening to the creator. And you can feel it. And it's exciting, and the results that I'm seeing are creators are taking a break. They feel more rested. More brand deals are coming in. They're feeling empowered to say yes to them, some no to them, because it's not enough money, and believing in themselves, and knowing that you're only going to last on YouTube for just a little bit of time before people move on. And that's what people are not going to say. There's few exceptions. There's exceptions, because you always have to have a new audience coming in, because your audience matures, no matter if that's a personal channel or a channel at the BBC. But because of as your channel grows and as your audience grows, well, you have to grow with them. And having time set aside to talk to someone like myself has enormous benefits, because the stress and anxiety go down. And it's because of the fact that the creators are actually focusing on themselves. They're taking the time.
Yeah, I think the benefits are really clear to the creator, and we could talk about the benefits and the kind of well-being of creators for hours. We'll link to Josh's previous podcast that he mentioned earlier with our good friend Chris on the audio on video podcast and also to your LinkedIn article about Creator Burnout. But I want to talk about the benefits to another group of people. And Josh, we spoke about this at length in person on the phone before, and also in my favorite In-N-Out burger when I came over.
Right by LAX.
Summit, yeah. And we spoke about this, and this is a kind of benefit to another group of people. And that's the benefit for the people that work with talent. So if you're working at an MCN, or you're working at a big company that collaborates with a lot of creators, or you are a talent manager and you've got a roster of talent,
or an agent, or even
agent, consultant, whatever it may be, people that are working with creators that are not necessarily creators, what are the benefits to those pool of people to make sure they're working with healthy, well-balanced creators?
So one is acknowledging with the creators that they work with the boundaries of what their job is. And it's very easy to just say yes to everything. But anyone who's listening to this I'm sure, has a story of having to put out a fire with a creator because something happened. And some things are more extreme, of answering your phone at 3 a.m. because there's some kind of emergency with a creator, or, just dealing with the onslaught of problems that people have when they are doing business with each other. And the way that I see this, a huge upside for the enterprise side of our community, is a couple fold. The first is, whether you're an agent or a manager or whatever your job is, you are hired to do a specific job. And I'm pretty sure that it is not, you're there to make money, right? For the company and for yourself and for your clients. And every time that you have to be distracted by putting out a fire or dealing with something that is not your job, and you may not even be, equipped to deal with the situations, whether a creator's going through a breakup or that they don't want to get out of bed, whatever it is, that's taking time away from you closing deals and doing what you have to do to hit your KPIs. And so the benefit of working with a coach and a third party is tremendous. And that is that you can now do a few things. One, you can focus completely on your business and what you're supposed to be doing. But two, you know that the creators and the people that you're working with are investing in themselves and their longevity, which in the long run makes money for you, makes the bond between you and the creator much better. And, not everyone likes talking to creators. I absolutely love it. And so if I'm able to help maximize time and potential for you in your business by taking what you're not signed up to do, which is talking to creators and working through their issues. And mind you, Tom, the burnout is not just with creators; it's with management, right? Managers are getting burned out. PMs and SPMs at YouTube are getting burned out. Everyone is getting burned out because they just don't stop. And if I'm able to help the enterprise side and take the emotionally draining aspect of what they do and alleviate it a little bit, well, that pays for itself. And the other thing is, it's good. It's good for you because you may not be equipped to deal with this. And you may not, and for a company, it's a liability issue. If you have managers or different people giving advice to creators or just saying yes to creators when that's not what they need. And why not have somebody work with somebody who is a third party that focuses completely on that so you can actually get your job done?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And, for everyone, time is without doubt the most precious asset. And if you're giving people their time back, then there's nothing more worthy than that. So we pride ourselves here at the Video Insiders podcast on always making sure that there's some real kind of actionable advice for our listeners. And so apart from the obvious, which is hiring Josh as a creator coach for yourself or for your company, can you give us a couple, maybe 3 tips for people on the industry side, whether they're working in MCNs or thinking of collaborating or paying an influencer for some influencer marketing? What are some 2 or 3 top tips on how to work successfully with a creator?
Number 1, manage expectations and be as clear as possible on what you expect from the creator and what the creator expects. Now, if you're a brand, knowing what you're paying for. And from the business side of me, there is, I could go on and on about the worth of a creator's, shout out or fully dedicated video. And what I would say to the creators or any managers is stop selling out short. These creators deserve a massive amount of money for their audience size because the ad that they're doing doesn't go away. It lives on in perpetuity throughout the universe. That's my rights and clearance side coming in and doesn't go away. Whereas a ad on TV has a end date and poof, it's gone. So the value that a creator has, and it's not about selling specific products, right? It's about brand recognition in every corner of the earth that you may never have the ability to get to. But your name as a brand is going to be spoken and heard by creators that are trustworthy and that a huge population of people trust. So just think about the amount of different times that your brand name is being said again and again and again and again all over the world 24/7. Pay for that. And honor that. Don't sell yourself short because once that happens, the marketplace is hurting because people are saying yes to lower and lower deals. And it's easy for a brand to go to someone else who's like, oh, you're the same size and you're going to take it for X amount of money. But we all need to stick together and say, no, these people, you are worth something. Monetarily, this is what you're worth and let's stick together. That is like my biggest pet peeve and the biggest thing is knowing your worth and working together with other managers and agents to make sure that we are charging and you are charging the appropriate amount and not underselling and undercutting because it's hurting the entire system.
So that benefits the creator to kind of get their worth, and it benefits the management or the enterprise side by making sure that the creator is not resentful at the work they're doing. You want them to be passionate and enthused about the work that they're doing. And if they're doing it feeling cheated, you're not going to get that passion. You're not going to get that best work. Any more tips that we can give for the kind of enterprise management side?
Yeah, I would say know when to recognize burnout. Know when to take a step back and know when you're outside of your comfort zone when talking to talent. And if you're feeling burnt out, reach out. I'm happy to give some tips, but in order to have this be sustainable in your life, you need to rest and you need to recover and you need to take care of yourself. And so identifying when a creator is starting to slip down the path of burnout is going to be the most important thing you can do in an enterprise workplace. I have 4 phases of creator burnout, right? There's pre-burnout and preventative care, which is great, right? We're trying to keep creators or anybody from burning out. Then the burnout starts, right? Stuff starts to crumble and it's not going so well. Then you have what I call the death spiral, right? Where things just go right downhill. You don't have any ideas to create. Your talent doesn't have any ideas to create. They're not answering their calls, etc. And then you have the 4th, which is flatline. You're just flatlined. nothing. And I can help with in any one of those, and that there's a cycle to it. But for anybody listening, you want to be able to know where you are in these phases of burnout and know that you're going to move through them, but you need help from people that are a third party and that you trust that they will tell you the truth and that there's nothing else in it for them except your health and wellness.
And my final question, which I'm trying to get a tip about working with influencers and talent directly here, is that you mentioned earlier that you're not going to phone someone up and tell them to get up for their casting call or to tell them to get their butt down to the shoot that they're being paid for. I have had experiences where we've paid quite well for a talent's time and they've shown up 4 hours early and 4 hours late.
Yeah, imagine 4 hours early. Yep.
4 hours late and not really that apologetic and just like it doesn't matter. What is your tip for people that are coming from, let's say, not the creative world, that are used to people acting in a certain level of professionalism? What is your advice to those people working with kind of creative types for the first time? And how do you ensure that they are held accountable to what they've promised? And how do you get the best professional work from someone? Or is that check need to be done before you work with the talent in terms of getting references to make sure this is the kind of person that's going to turn up on time and deliver on a contract?
Yeah. Well, one is the most important is a contract. Right. And a contract is about making sure that it's not just legal language. It is about ensuring that the creator and the agency and the manager and the agent and the brand and all the different people in between are all on the same page on what needs to be delivered. And that the brand or whoever's paying knows is that this is a creative process. So there's some stuff you're going to have to give on. But, also, if there is somebody that shows up late or is not able to do something, that's communicated to the management, right? Because this is a learning opportunity. Because you're going to get feedback from management or creators on why they did it. Now, some people are like, "Yeah, I'm late. So what? Deal with it. I'm big enough. I can do it." That happens in the normal world. When I say normal, big quotes, but also as in traditional entertainment. So I would say managing expectations, being crystal clear. But listen, at YouTube Nation, when there were talent coming in, yeah, and their call time was 8 a.m. and they didn't roll in until 9:30, you had to scratch your head and go, what were you thinking? What's going on? And I think a lot of the time there are no guardrails in YouTube, right? Because you're a creator. You create your own content. You do whatever you want. And it is very difficult for management and people around them to say, no, you need to show up. You need to do this. You need to be on time because it reflects poorly on me and my brand, etc. But again, we're dealing with humans. People make mistakes. And so if you feel that what you've paid for is not up to snuff or up to par, then speak up about it. You would be amazed if you just talk to the creator and say, hey, what's going on? What happened? It may be like, well, I didn't set my alarm. Well, guess what? That's when you have a creator coach come in and say, here's a goal here. If you want to keep making money, you better set your alarm. Yeah. Which a manager can do as well. But when I do it, I'm taking on that role of being able to help facilitate a creator wanting to do this. As a manager, there's tension that builds. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, this is just such a fascinating conversation. I feel like as well we could do a whole separate podcast on working with talent, working with influencers, the future of influencer marketing. I feel that's a whole nother subject that, again, you're perfectly placed to speak about, but that's probably all we have time for. So I'd like to, of course, thank you for the amazing information, but I'm going to leave you with one last question, Josh. That is, I don't think there's anyone in the world as well placed to talk about this subject. There's certainly no one as well connected to speak about this subject. And obviously you're a very eloquent speaker on the subject. When the hell are you going to be launching the Creator Coach podcast? I've put you on the spot.
You have, and do you hear that silence? Have you ever heard me be quiet for that long? Tom, when you decide to do it with me.
Oh, well, I'm not sure if I'm qualified yet.
Are you going to, you may burn out. No, it's coming soon. I would love to.
I really think there's a need for it, Josh, and I think you are the perfect conduit for that conversation to keep going. It's a really important conversation to have, and I think you'd be the man to take it forward. So again, thank you so much, Josh. If people would like to work with you directly or just hear more about what you've got to say, maybe they're just really excited and they want to tell you to go ahead and start that podcast, where can they learn more about you and get in contact?
I'll make it super easy. Just email me, josh@creatorcoach.com. I can't wait to hear from anyone. It's always great, no matter how big of a channel you are, no matter what side you're on. It's always great to talk to people in the industry and to make connections, because this is our industry is so small. We're always connected by 1 or 2 degrees. So I always, the way that what I believe is that if I can do something to help someone, well, it's going to come back at some point to help me. And I also just like doing it. So if you want to talk, email me. I'd love to set up a time. If you feel like you're burnt out or you have questions about it, email me and we can set up a time to talk. No problem.
Thanks, Josh. And I shall hopefully see you later in the year next time I come over to LA. The biggest bombshell of this entire episode is that I'm not really a fan of In-N-Out Burger anymore. I've decided, so we'll go to Wendy's instead, because we don't get Wendy's anymore in the UK. So thank you, Josh. And I look forward to speaking to you soon next time I'm in LA. And thank you from all our listeners. It's been really insightful.
Thank you. And, Tom, I don't think I guess we're never going to have a sponsorship from In-N-Out on this podcast. And I will just say, this could be after the recording, but, I'm very curious why you're sick of In-N-Out. And it's probably because you ate it every single day when you're here.
Yeah, probably gluttony. Gluttony is probably the root of it, no doubt. Okay, Josh, thanks. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and hope some people will be reaching out soon.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Cheers.
Bye.
So that was an awesome interview. I feel like me and Josh would really get along in having drinks and talking war stories.
Josh has got so many stories. As I say, like, he knows everyone. Everyone knows Josh. He really has his finger on the pulse. And I said to Josh once we stopped recording, we could have easily gone on for hours, because he's doing some really interesting stuff with creators that he's working with on Facebook. We could probably do an entire episode about what he's doing on Facebook and his time on YouTube Nation and the creators that he's worked with. And, he now gets to call friends is really incredible. But what's your take on the whole kind of burnout issue, Carlos? Because obviously you didn't get to join in the call. So I'd love to get your take on the whole epidemic. Is it an epidemic? Is it made up? What's your take on it?
I think it's something that YouTube has sort of like inadvertently engineered. People are not algorithms, and they've forced everybody to sort of feel like they need to keep feeding the machine. And there are strategies to build your online business to not have to feed that machine on a constant basis. But unfortunately, most people are stuck into the, if I don't create, I don't make a living situation. That to me has been the biggest sort of like wake up call over the last year or so, where, the creators are hitting burnout. The thing is, burnout's always been there. The reason why the Ray William Johnsons of this world stopped was because of burnout. There's just too much. It's just consistent. And maybe we're starting to see the reason why there are seasons when it comes to entertainment, right? People constantly want content, and, we're in a world where it's 24/7, and you feel like you need to sort of give that content consistently or else you're forgotten. And that's not a good place to be when you're a creator. It's an epidemic. It's something that everybody needs to be aware of. I think they need to think ahead when they are creating their channels and the content that they're trying to make, and figure out a way, or, right away start making that roadmap to not be in that hamster wheel for a long time, because it is not healthy.
Yeah, what I found really interesting was not only, so the end user of Josh's expertise is the creator, but I loved what he said about the real beneficiary being the people that work with creators in that ecosystem, because for all intents and purposes, and this is going to sound horrible, if you're a talent manager, or if you're an MCN, or some kind of merger between those, convergence of those different types of companies where you have kind of talent on staff almost, those are assets. And if you are a corporate company, you need to protect your assets and, make sure that they're healthy and safe and able to continue to produce for your company. So, yeah, I really valued that point about, almost sending a message out to people that kind of look after talent to make sure they're not burning out, because, obviously there's the human side of that, and you want to look after people and respect people and make sure people that you're working with they've got a good work-life balance, but also from a financial point of view, protect your assets so that you can monetize them long-term. That sounds really cynical, but, if that was the way that I was running any kind of talent-based company, it's definitely something that I would bear in mind.
Yeah, totally. Awesome.
Okay, so before we say goodbye, we of course have to say thank you to our amazing sponsor, TubeBuddy. And remember, you can get a unique discount when you sign up through Video Insiders, and that's at videoinsiders.fm/TubeBuddy.
Thank you, TubeBuddy. Don't forget, remember to subscribe to the podcast if this is the one you first listened to, and share the podcast with somebody that would really benefit from it. It really helps us out. We've gotten a lot of positive reviews, but now we need people to share in their network. And the best way to grow a podcast is with word of mouth. So let your friends know.
Thanks, Carlos, and we'll speak to you in the next couple of weeks.
Take care, Tom.
Bye.